America and Iron Man, those are the franchises that I think carried the MCU.
It's so smart of them to bring Iron Man back in this one. Maybe instead of Brave New World, they should call it Disappointing New World.
Whoa!
One of my complaints about this movie is that it's inherently politically charged, and they are fighting tooth and nail to get away from any political components of Captain America.
Andrew and I are going to break down our ratings, which we use a 6-category rating system to help us be as non-biased as possible, or at least acknowledge all aspects of the filmmaking process. Welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And today we're doing a movie review on Captain America, A Brave New World.
3, 2, 1, action!
The MCU is back,
baby. We're back, baby!
We're back!
Captain America is back!
Dude, Captain America and Iron Man, those were the franchises that kind of... Excuse me, I'm talking here.
Yeah, every episode now.
But Captain America and Iron Man, those are the franchises that I think carried the MCU.
It's so smart of them to bring Iron Man back in this one.
Yes, it's about time, right? Like,
an Iron Man
teased us that RDJ was coming back in Doomsday. They got you. He's back. They kept it a secret. He is here, Captain America. Boom. We're back.
It was, I mean, when he said I am Iron Man in this one, I thought it was a little bit heavy-handed for a callback, but the cameo was appreciated.
Yeah, it was. No, but in all seriousness, we went and watched A Brave New World this past weekend, and today we're going to be talking about it. We're going to talk about our typical movie breakdowns. So we're going to start off with going through some of the stats of the movie, the ratings of the movie that are from IMDb and the Rotten Tomatoes. And then we're going to go into the budget, creators in front of and behind the camera. And then from there, Andrew and I are going to break down our ratings, which we use a 6-category rating system to help us be as non-biased as possible, or at least acknowledge all aspects of the filmmaking process, because maybe our gut reactions put it really high or really low. And there's a lot that goes into a movie, so we want to make sure we appreciate the movie as a whole. So if you haven't seen one of our movie reviews, that's what you have to look forward to on today's episode.
Lucky ducks. Before we get into that,
for a treat.
Before we get into that, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our awesome content. We do put out episodes, like we said, every Monday and Thursday. And every once in a while, we get an extra one in there, or a special edition episode. We've shot a short film. We've done some cool, unique stuff, some shot recreations, and we have some ideas, well, spoilers, for trending topics right now to shoot some shot recreations. So if those come out, you don't want to miss them, make sure you got that notification bell on. Let's get to the fun stuff.
That's crazy. All right. First impressions, without giving me too much here, what did you think of Captain America, Brave New World? Did it live up to the hype? Is the MCU back? Is the MCU struggling? Where did this movie sit for you? Go.
Not a great place to start.
Whoa. I need some positivity in my life here.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I loved it. It was so good. Best movie I've seen in years. Best MCU movie I've seen in decades. I think
clip that.
Captain America's my new favorite superhero.
Yep.
Anthony Mackie's my new favorite actor.
Dang.
Whatever company did the special effects for this is my favorite VFX company now.
Okay. I feel like you're stretching now. You know, like
I think I want to acknowledge the fact that this movie, and that people always make fun of people when they start by trying to like compliment and acknowledge the hard work, but I do want to compliment the hard work of the production team on this movie. It cannot be easy to be Julius Ono, the director of this movie, and have to go back to the drawing board so many times. I'm sure they didn't, cut it back that far to the very beginning, but they did four sets of reshoots on this movie. That's going to be really hard on you as a creative, as just a person, the amount of work and labor that goes into it. Usually a big budget movie like this might take a couple years, it might take 2 or 3 years between the pre-production time and that planning phase, production, post-production, interview circuits, stuff like that. It takes a lot out of you. So to have to go back and reshoot scenes and redo setups and rework scripts is makes it even so much harder. It's incredible that a movie gets made in Hollywood on this scale at any level because of all the moving parts in play. So to redo all that, much respect to them. I want that reflected and put in the what's it called in court?
Fine print.
No,
The transcript.
the stenographer puts it
Yeah.
in the transcript. I think you're right.
It could be.
I want that on the transcript.
Okay.
That I acknowledge that
It's
it's hard to do because we have tried. We've worked on 2 short films of our own, and it is not easy, and that's on a much smaller scale. So I was not. And that said, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I think it's a byproduct of the modern MCU age. Maybe instead of Brave New World, they should call it Disappointing New World.
Whoa! Whoa!
Ever since the snap of Endgame, we have been really wanting for something, and there have been some hits here and there, some movies. I'm really a big fan of Shang-Chi. I mean, Spider-Man 3 has its great moments, but a lot of these movies, like we've talked about, we've talked the MCU to death on this channel. You can check our other videos if you want to watch it. The death of the MCU. I think a lot of times they leave a bad taste in your mouth the more time that passes after you've watched the movie.
For these newer ones.
Yeah, for the newer ones. Like, obviously, Iron Man 1 is the old, like, or Incredible Hulk. I would say Iron Man 1's really the oldest of the true MCU movies, and that has just got better with time.
It is. That's the first one.
Yeah, the suit some people say the Incredible Hulk.
No, that one came out after.
Oh, it came out after? Okay, so I'm mixed up. Thank you. But I think that this movie has its strength. I like the cinematography of the action. I like the way the action shot. I like a lot of the action choreography. And then it has huge weaknesses. There's a noticeable green screen that a lot of people have been pointing out online at highly impactful, highly important climactic moments in the story where it undercuts it because you're distracted.
Probably a reshoot part.
Potentially, yeah. If they couldn't get everybody back. They couldn't get back to a location. They have to use green screen because of constraints from time and money and planning, scheduling. So it's not everything is necessarily their fault, but I still have to judge the movie that I saw on the screen. What are your general thoughts?
I thought the movie was
I think it's mid as hell. I think mid is the fair thing to call it.
Was entertained the whole time. I wasn't sitting there being like, oh, this is a drag. I wasn't sitting there being like, this was the worst movie I've ever seen, But at the same time, it didn't like blow my socks off, you know what I'm saying? And I hold Captain America, the original trilogy, very high. The Winter Soldier is one of my favorite movies, not just in the MCU, but of all time. Civil War is fantastic, and then even the first Avenger is a great start to the character and a great introduction to kind of this world that we're going to be seeing for the MCU. With that said, I think that the writing is where this movie really struggled the most. I have a few examples that we will talk about, but I'm going to save for when we get into the story element of our breakdown.
Can we go into story? Oh, we can't skip this. I have to write down what I want to talk about. There's one line in particular.
Yeah, we'll kind of bookmark that for later. Again, we're going to be breaking down our movie review into 6 different categories, which we'll be talking about here soon. And those include story, acting, cinematography, sound design, set design, and then rewatchability.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm dialed in, man. I'm ready to go.
That's fired in. Awesome Social Network.
I'm ready to go.
Let's hear it, Aaron. What's this movie? Are we going into ratings
let's go
first?
into our ratings, earnings, and creators. This movie came out in 2025. Very beginning of the year. It was released on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day.
Love you guys. If anyone hasn't asked you, will you be our Valentine?
Yeah.
Subscribe, and you can have it.
Andrew and I went on a double date for that. However, mine did not show up. Mr. Zachary Cook ditched me. So I was third wheeling on Andrew and Sierra's Valentine's date.
Zach mentions in the last 2 episodes.
Yep. And he was in the one before that.
Yeah.
This movie is rated PG-13. It's 1 hour and 58 minutes long. IMDb has it rated as a 6.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score, the tomato meter. These are the people, the gods in the community. They tell us whether a movie is good or bad.
I prefer the tomato meter, but
Okay. With 257 reviews, it is at a 50%, meaning 50% of those reviews, not so good. You know what I'm saying?
But hey, glass half full. 50% of those reviews are so good.
They're very good. Yeah, they're fantastic. And then we go to the popcorn meter, which is the fans, the audience. This is what really matters. Like these are what represent the general public, if you will. Out of 5,000 reviews or more, because there's a little plus at the end of that, we have an 80%, that's a pretty big difference. I think right off the bat, my initial thought for that is the tomato meter is a little bit low, and I think maybe quite a bit low, and then the popcorn meter I think is a little high. You know what I'm saying?
I wanted to see its letterbox rating. It looks like it has a 2.6 stars out of 5.
Yeah, so just above 50%.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, the budget for this film, $180 million. That could be a little bit off. I don't know if that's counting all the reshoots or not.
There's no way on God's green earth that it is that cheap. That is a bald-faced lie to the 10th degree. That this movie had 4 sets of reshoots. 4 sets. Maybe that was the original budget, and you never updated it on. You cannot convince me a Marvel movie, which is running 150 to 250 million a pop, that they made this one at 180 on 4 sets of reshoots.
I don't know, man.
And they paid Harrison Ford to be in it? Bullshit.
Yeah, but they didn't have really anyone else in it.
Harrison Ford didn't do it for charity.
He was their main guy, you know? Like, I'm sure they're not paying, what's his name? The guy who plays Falcon.
Danny Ramirez?
No, plays Captain America. Anthony Mackie, thank you. I'm sure they're not paying him what they were paying Robert Downey Jr. You know, they're probably saving quite a bit.
There's no Russo brothers. Like, it's a little bit.
Box office for the first weekend, though, higher than I thought it was going to be. IMDb has it as of the Monday that it came out at $192.4 million. They've made back their supposed budget in the first weekend, which is what you want to try to do. You know, like that's kind of your minimum. Like let's make back the budget there, because now we have the marketing budget that we have to make up, which is typically what that production budget is times 2.
So the marketing budget for this movie had to be insane, because they ran a lot of ads for this movie. They edited clips to be released. Mm-hmm. They ran a lot of Valentine's related stuff. Yeah, so I think that they paid a lot to have this movie on your FYP. This movie's all over Instagram. They're trying to recoup their investment by getting a lot of people to see this movie, because they spent presumably a lot of money doing reshoots.
Now I'm going to put your movie expertise, since you're a fantastic podcast host, you watch a bunch of movies, and we do a bunch of movie reviews and breakdowns. I want to ask your professional opinion. What do you think next week's box office return is going to be for Captain America: Brave New World? Because that second week is very telling into like the projections of where this movie is going to land in terms of its final box office recap. I also want to add too, this movie is on your box office draft team. So you're rooting for this movie to do really well. And if you don't know what the box office draft is, that's where in the beginning of the year, Andrew and I sit down and we go back and forth picking movies we think are going to make the most amount of money. Once we pick a movie, that's off the table, and we're going back and forth like a draft in football or in your playground yard picks for different sports.
Schoolyard pick, yeah.
Schoolyard picks, thank you.
So what are you putting on the line here if I'm right? Like, and give
bragging rights.
Give you a range. Like, should I be between 5 million in either direction of the right answer? Is that fair?
If you're within 5 million, like,
I don't think.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat fair. That's like a $10 million range.
Yeah.
Because I think a typical drop off for a movie like this would be the next weekend's returns maybe 100 million. The first weekend it made 198. Typically they drop anywhere I think in the 40 to 60% range for the second weekend. I'm gonna guess as low as 68 million worldwide return for the second weekend.
Okay.
68 million is my number.
Give or take 5
in either direction.
All right. Well, we'll see if you're right. That's a pretty solid guess. I think you're in the ballpark. You know.
I'd love to say that it was going to be more. I'd love to say
it to be more.
I'd love
for
to
your
say it's
team.
120. Well, this is also my 5th pick. It's also my lowest pick.
Yeah.
So I do want it to be more, but
you need a surprise.
If this movie makes 400 million, I wouldn't be too mad. I want it to break 5. I want it to just be a little over 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't look very likely as of yet.
Some of your other movies need to knock it out of the park. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's. I've said that. You know what I'm saying? A lot this episode. And I feel like I don't normally.
I actually haven't noticed it.
I'm very
probably
aware.
Didn't notice either until you said it.
I'm very aware that I keep saying it. And
one person noticed, and they were like,
"Stop saying it!" And then now they're like, "Oh, like he realizes." So at least that's good.
They get forgive you.
Let's go on to the creators. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so we like to talk about this. who's in front and behind the camera. We have to start with who's behind the camera on our cast and crew side because we want to pay homage to them. They just don't get as much recognition as they usually, as we think they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
So the director of this movie, I already mentioned, is Julius Ona. The writers include Rob Edwards, Malcolm Spellman, and Dalan Musan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Dalan. Dalan Musan. Stars include Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, and Danny Ramirez. And let me just go a little further to see who is our writer, cinematographer, and editor. Oh, and a few more actors I can give to. Shira Haas plays our new ex-Widow member. Carl Lumbly we should shout out because he plays Isaiah Bradley. He's awesome. Tim Blake Nelson plays Samuel Stearns, one of the villains of the movie, playing the leader, returning from The Incredible Hulk, which is a really deep-cut reach back for them. Yep. Giancarlo Esposito's in this movie as Sidewinder. You said they didn't really have anyone else besides Harrison Ford, but Giancarlo is pretty good.
He's not in the movie too much.
Zoshi Roquemore is Layla Taylor. She's like the right-hand man to the president in this movie. And yeah, I think that's a lot of the prominent cast members. We named our writers. Let's look at music is by Laura Karpman. Cinematography is by Kramer Morgenthau, which that name sounds familiar. I think they've been on something else that we've covered on the show. He did Creed 2, Thor the Dark World. He's got some pretty notable big budget credits here. Spirited. Let's find out who is our editor. There's two editors for this movie, not too uncommon. Madeline Gavin and Matthew Schmidt are the editors for this movie. So big ups to those in front of and behind the camera for putting together this movie. Couldn't have been easy for you guys.
Yeah,
I know the editing room was chaotic.
I was going to say, I can imagine that editing this film was a nightmare.
Dude, they're
when we
out
have the
their hair.
reshoots, it just makes the timeline that much more complicated to kind of clean up.
And as an editor, if you're doing a second draft of the movie, you probably didn't delete the first one. So somewhere out there's probably four cuts
original cut
of this movie. And maybe the first cut doesn't have all the sound put together, definitely doesn't have all the special effects put together.
Yeah.
So it's got to be really interesting. I would love, from a writing perspective, to have a look at the multiple drafts of this movie and see exactly what the changes are. Yeah. Beyond that, just to look at the first draft of the movie to know the differences between the final cut.
Absolutely. Okay, this brings us to the part that I think we're most excited for.
The part everybody loves.
So yeah, this is the part that we've been teasing this whole time, and that is our ratings. Going through those 6 categories that I mentioned earlier. Again, we got story, acting, cinematography, sound design, set and character design, and then rewatchability at the end. We're going to start off with story. We think this is the most important aspect of a film. When you have a good story, everything else can be forgiven. But when you have a bad story, even if everything else is fantastic, it's going to sit lower on your list of favorite movies. It's just not going to hit you as hard.
Story is king.
Story is king. So we're going to start off here with story. Andrew, what did you think of the story of Captain America Brave New World?
I gave it a 2.
A 2?
No, I didn't give it a 2.
Oh my God.
That's a joke score. Don't worry, guys.
I was going to say, that was really low.
I just set the standard to kind of make my actual score seem less insulting.
Okay.
So I gave it a 5.
5 out of 10. 50%.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
Well, I think that I originally thought about giving it a 6, but I feel like watching this movie, you can feel the multiple iterations of storytelling that it went through. I felt like there was a lack of connection between the characters. I didn't feel a lot of chemistry, and I think that's partly related to the dialogue. The dialogue is a little bit like overly buddy. Like, it seems like a lot of the lines between the main 3, Isaiah Bradley, Falcon, and Captain America, kind of have this tone of like, hey, we're friends. Hey, remember, like, you're old, right? Oh, you're so young. Like, it doesn't have...
You're referring to the limo scene and the
workout scene and the White House. It seems very forced, the chemistry between them, and I relate it back to the dialogue.
Let's hair drop.
That is the line I wrote down. I said I want to talk about.
That is so bad. It's so bad. Hair drop has been a thing for like 10, 15 years. Like,
well, it's even if he didn't know what it was, they delivered it so like, it's that thing that everybody digs it and makes fun of the MCU for, and they don't stop doing it. People are like, hey, it's cheesy when you say Scooby-Doo this shit, and they're like, do it more.
Yeah.
Double down. Like
if this was said in the second Captain America movie, it wouldn't have been as bad, especially if it's Captain America himself, because he was, put under ice for a long time.
And I feel like
that makes sense if you want to make a we're old. What is that technology thing?
They did a lot of jokes like that too, like him not knowing who Marvin Gaye was, or something. Like he didn't know a lot of popular culture things because he was from decades and decades past. But they made it work because Chris Evans had a lot of charisma, and he could deliver it on screen well. When they delivered this line in this movie, nobody in the theater laughed. I don't think I heard anybody laugh. And if you don't know for context, what we're talking about is when they enter the White House. Isaiah Bradley asks Falcon to send him a picture, and Falcon says, "Yeah."
Because they awkwardly stopped and took
a selfie.
Weird selfie, which...
Are they trying to pander to kids who watch the movies? So like, look, they're taking a selfie.
Like,
do kids say that anymore?
I get that they're trying to, like, make it feel real and relatable because, like, you probably would take a picture if you're in the White House like that, but, like, in this big kind of spy thriller movie that they're trying to give us, it just feels out of place.
Well, in the context of the weight of the moment itself, even. Like, beyond that, further into it, Isaiah Bradley is emotionally and morally struggling with going back to this place because it is representative of the embodiment of the government that does not respect him, that tortured him, that put him in prison.
And through different tests, like he's a guinea pig.
And you're supposed to make me believe that he's walking in there, deal with the weight of that, and he's like, selfie. Wait, what's airdrop? Like... Why can't we
send me that picture?
Yeah, we need to have. Yeah, send me that pic. Like you need for what, his Facebook page? Like why we need a moment of seriousness. They do have moments of seriousness, but stuff like that is poorly timed when they do it like that. It's not the right moment.
Or even when the new Falcon got into a suit for the first time and he knocks down those 2 or 3 people in the middle of this forest or dirt road, and then he's like, I did it.
They do that all the time.
And then they're like, no one was here to see that? That's shocks. Like, it's like, that just, it makes me feel uncomfortable,
I see what they're going for. They're just not pulling it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it, and
like Spider-Man could say something like that, to the guy in the chair, to Ned.
Yeah.
Be like, yo, did you see that? That was so dumb. I wish you were here, like... It fits.
You just need some time to let the characters be cool. Like in Captain America 2, they let him be badass.
Right.
When he is fighting Batroc, the Leaper, and like he throws the grenade in, there's not a character that goes, "Oh boy, we better skedaddle." Like, they're not doing corny, cheesy stuff like that. Boom. None of those things you just did were good, Captain America.
Dude, that's a good.
Yeah,
that's a good inside.
Gets kicked in the head. None of those kicks you just did were good.
Oh man, if you don't know what we're laughing about, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you gotta watch
our
Jurassic World Rebirth episode. That's all you get. You gotta watch it.
Okay, let me tell you my score. Because I was kind of shocked when you said 2, and then I was still like kind of interrogating you there for a 5. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Yeah.
Wait, is this the time? Is this going to be it? I shouldn't get too optimistic. I won.
It's most definitely not.
Yeah, we're going to disagree later.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that one movie where we have the same exact score in all 6 categories, which has never happened.
We have to watch Creed 3, and I'll put 10 for everything. I'll give full scores just so I know that we can match.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
But I think this movie, like, I agree with you. The story
it's the writing for me. It's too cheesy. And the biggest problem for me, because I can understand that it can be a little cheesy. Sometimes I can look past that, but the biggest problem for me is that they're so much heavy expository dialogue explaining to me as if I'm like, have never seen a MCU movie before. The perfect example of this is when we first see the new Captain America with his suit. He's got the wings, and the wings absorb energy and glow purple, just like Black Panther in his suit, which was thoroughly explained in Black Panther. And other characters have used this technology before, and they're like, oh, that was really cool, right? That was from Wakanda. His suit glows purple and then can shoot off energy from there. And it's like, we know. And if you don't remember or you don't know, you don't have to tell us. It's not that big of a plot point. You know, we can see what that purple is doing,
What the tech is doing.
because you show us in that fight what it's done. And then if maybe someone's like, hey, what was that purple after? You can be like, oh, that was from Black Panther because his suit was made in Wakanda. And then they're like, oh, that's cool.
They also went into explaining what Thaddeus Ross had done in the events of Incredible Hulk, just in case people hadn't seen it. They went into explaining what happened to Isaiah Bradley and his backstory, in case you hadn't seen Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So what's the point of having an interconnected universe if you have to recap everything with all this exposition?
You're not even recapping it with like flashbacks or cool like visuals or anything. You're specifically just recapping it with people sitting in the room talking. And it's like, conversations don't happen like that. You know what I mean? Like,
and then the leader too. Like the leader's like shadowed in darkness, and he's telling Sam Wilson what happened. Yeah, he blamed me for the events of the Incredible Hulk. It's like, dude, did you say the name of the movie? But like the leader, I think, was ineffectual. They really understood his name
until like we're getting ready for this episode.
He's a cool villain, and I like the concept of, I feel like other movies have done stuff like this. It's almost like Eagle Eye, but like personified by a person, where Eagle Eye, the system does all these advanced calculations to force people down these rabbit holes of doing what it wants to do. He's a villain like that. He's talking about in the movie, he sees the world in probabilities. He sees what people are likely to do and uses that to form these plans, almost like it's not a superpower, but it's what happens in Captain America Civil War. You know, was it Baron Zemo? Yeah. Baron Zemo like has all these people to a T. His plan, just precision, organization, and patience. You know, like Jason Bourne. Like, and it just didn't work in this movie. Like he's
barely in it.
He's popping up at random locations. Like when when that one military guy is going to get him the answers for the serum.
Like, I'm conveniently here.
Yeah, he's here. I am. Like, how did you get there? Or he was in that house and he killed all the people in that house when he was calling Thaddeus Ross. Why? I don't even know why that happened.
I don't feel connected to him at all.
No.
You know, like I was explaining this to someone. I forget who it was, but when I was talking to them about like what I thought of the movie, I was like, it doesn't feel like a movie. You know, it feels like someone's telling me a story. You know, and I don't know. I just didn't feel connected to the characters through the way that this was all put together.
I also didn't like the way that they did their other villain, the Red Hulk. I think they were patient in the filmmaking in terms of having him slowly progress into the Red Hulk, or digress, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They showed him take the medication twice before it even became an issue. Then he continued to take the medication, but his anger was starting to overwhelm him. He broke the table. They had patience there, and I appreciate that. But there were also writing elements to his character that didn't make any sense. He was like, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and be a better person for my daughter. And then he clearly still has Samuel Stearns in captivity, forcing him to work for him, like as a prisoner, when he promised him he would let him go when he helped him become the president. He's 100 days into his presidency. He says, I'm coming up on my 100 days. Still have this man in captivity. That doesn't seem like turning over a new leaf. And then I think it's the ex-widow girl. She says, like, oh, he's trying to change. Like, that's when Sam is confronting her about him keeping Samuel Stearns captive. It's like, obviously he hasn't changed if he's still doing horrific shit like this.
Yeah.
He's not a better person. You can say you're a better person all day, but then you're promising a person to let them go, but keeping them as your prisoner, forcing them to work for you.
We spend a lot of time talking about story because that's,
most
like we said, it's the most important part. So I want to touch on one more thing about the story, and then we'll kind of go through these other categories maybe a little bit quicker. Keep this episode digestible.
One more thing on story too.
I think we might be talking about the same thing here, because this was something that you mentioned to me before we were filming that you wanted to bring up. And that was kind of the whole dilemma with Isaiah Bradley going back to jail. And the new Captain America, Sam Wilson, not really doing anything about it. And I know you wanted to bring that up. So do you want to touch on that a little bit before we move on, and then whatever else you wanted to bring up?
Thank you for reminding me about that, because that is huge. I was saying that one of my complaints about this movie is that it's inherently politically charged, and they are fighting tooth and nail to get away from any political components of Captain America. Whether you like it or not, the movie is called Captain America. It has America in the name. It's going to have some political element to it, whether it's pro-America. The other ones were inherently super political, and nobody complained about it. And I don't know why they felt they had to shy away from it so much, because we're in very politically divisive times. Maybe they just want to make sure that they don't hurt their ticket sales by putting out the wrong message. But the first couple Captain American movies have very, what I consider pro-American ideals, but through Captain America rebelling against organized government. It's about a very basic component of our Constitution that Nicolas Cage talks about in National Treasure, which is when our government oversteps their bounds from being a helping people to being oppressors, it's our job as citizens to stand up and push back against that. Our literal U.S. Declaration of Independence says that. And not the Constitution, but the Declaration of Independence, I believe. And they're going to steal the Declaration of Independence. But that's what Cap was doing, especially in Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Captain America Civil War. He was fighting back against the government trying to control things that he didn't think they should have control of. And in this movie, we have a perfect chance for Sam to do the same thing. Isaiah Bradley, who has been really tortured by the U.S. government and falsely imprisoned and experimented on, tells him, I can't go back there, Sam. I can't go back to prison. And Sam looks him dead in the face and says, sorry, buddy, I think it's the best option right now. Like, you can't tell me that Steve Rogers would have done that. And you honestly can't even convince me that Falcon would have done it either. I feel like Steve Rogers went to bat for Bucky, fought the entire government to prove his innocence, and refused to kill him in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So you can't tell me that Sam wouldn't do the same thing for Isaiah Bradley if they have the level of friendship this story wants me to believe that they have in this connection and bond. I think what should have happened in that moment, just write it where there's less people with guns on them and have Sam help Isaiah Bradley fight and escape. And he's like, we're gonna get out of this and clear your name. Like, obviously he's not guilty. You could tell he's being mind controlled. So get him out of there and save him. Be a hero. Like, don't say, oh, I need you to go back into chains for a while I figure this out. That's so
And now you have the tension between the president and Sam Wilson.
Yeah. Exactly, and then because it would confirm it would confirm the issue that they had when Sam said, "What about when we disagree on how to resolve an issue?"
Right.
Like, Sam's got to take matters into his own hands. That's what Cap did. That's what Cap would have done.
Yeah.
If you want to be Cap, you have to convince me that. Like, I feel like they didn't let him step into Cap's shoes enough because they didn't want to make him too rebellious. They didn't want to make him fight against the system that much. This movie felt super centrist and like it had really nothing to say politically.
Yeah.
Very, very safe. Like, they're trying to play both sides. Throughout the movie, they're like, hey, I don't agree with him. He's done bad things, but he is the president. Gotta respect him. Like,
it's not even how the comics are either.
The comics are super revolutionary. They're rebellious.
Yeah.
And they always have been. And I thought that was very disappointing in this movie. This whole concept of he's the president, like that still, I mean, that does hold weight. That is an important position in our society. But we need to be able to be critical of these people. We need to be able to give some pushback so that the representatives of us, the embodiment of the people, know what we agree and disagree with. It's fair to give pushback. Like, and this is representative, like, on a larger scale of that pushback. Like, yeah, I'm not saying go and break somebody out of prison, but it's a movie. It's a metaphor, you know. It's a metaphor for, like, standing up for people. And I feel like he had a half-assed way of standing up for Isaiah Bradley. The disappointment on my face when he told him, like, the other way is going to be way worse. Like, the disappointment on my face was like, man, he is not going hard enough for his friend.
Yeah. What else did you want to bring up?
I did have one other thing, and it was, I think they really undercut the ending of this movie just really quickly. I'm going to say he defeated the Red Hulk with words. And I thought that was lame as all get out. Like, you're dealing with this, while I do think a lot of people have been very critical of the CGI, it didn't look incredible. I think it looked fine. It looked incredible. I didn't think it looked horrific, but I think
a lot of moments it looked good.
Yeah, but I also really love to see an enraged Hulk. Like, we haven't had an enraged Hulk in years.
Yeah.
Like, since Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So we got to see the Hulk really enraged and violent too, like trying to kill our Captain America. So that was really cool. And seeing what the Hulk can do when he's untethered, that clap that destroyed the White House, seeing actual damage to a U.S. institution like the White House was really cool. He jumped through it. He was able to jump with single bounds, like across the town. So it was really cool to see a fully powered Hulk, angry Hulk, super cool. But everyone was wondering, going into this movie, how is Captain America going to fight the Red Hulk? And we got our answer. He hit him with one decent hit that didn't do it really hardly any damage. I guess because of he had the Wakandan vibranium, he was able to pierce his skin with those little falcon feathers.
Yep.
But it wasn't doing really any damage. Hulk heals really fast. He didn't take him out. He just took him out by talking, which he gave a big speech at the end of Captain America and the Winter, Captain America, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the TV show. So like, it's his power that he just gives speeches. Like he said in the movie, maybe I should have taken the serum. And we as the audience, I'm sure everyone was like, yes, that would have been so much more badass. Like,
you know who took the serum? Steve Rogers.
It's good enough for Steve.
Yeah.
Good enough for
Like,
Steve.
it's not like he was born with it, you know? Like, why are you avoiding this like it's like steroids and steroids are bad?
I don't know what message is trying to send. Yeah, it's about pain and gain. It's a reference.
Yeah. It's like, don't take this supplement, you know? Like, you got to be true to who you are. And it's like, no, it was created to exemplify like your traits, you know? So if you're a good person, you're going to be an even better person. If you're a bad person, you're going to be an even worse person. And Captain America himself, Steve Rogers, thought that Sam Wilson was a good enough person to uphold the mantle, to hold the shield, and to represent what Captain America stands for. Therefore, what is the problem with taking the serum?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that would improve this movie a ton, would have improved his character a whole bunch.
Also, if he can just take the serum as if there is more serum just sitting around, why isn't the government like shooting up more people?
Yeah. Those scenes, honestly,
like,
they ran out of their stockpile of it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I guess, but I don't know how they were.
Why is it such, like, it would be more convincing of, like, no, like, hey, they destroyed all the serum, like, you can't get it unless you time travel back in time to get some. Like, that would have been more convincing of why he can't have the serum to me than just,
turning it down.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah. I think eventually they did destroy it later in the show, if I'm not mistaken. But, like, at the time, he decided.
Yeah.
He decided not to take it, which is stupid.
Okay, let's move on to our next category, shall we?
Yeah.
All right.
This so disappointed in the Red Hulk.
This is acting. So this is all the performance that we see on screen. This is both like the dialogue and the delivery, the chemistry between actors, but then also like any of the stunt work that we see these people going through. That is also encapsulated into acting, okay, because they're all performing. This is also out of 10 points here. Andrew, what did you give acting?
Also, motion capture. I don't know if you said that one already.
Yeah.
But I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Oh.
I feel like everyone delivered.
Dang it.
No,
We're so close, man. I was at 7.5.
I thought everyone delivered and did their job. And I don't think the acting was in any way a bad part of the movie, and I don't think the acting took me out of the movie at all.
Yeah, I think I had it sitting around a 7, you know? Like, I think everyone, like you said, they did their job, they did good. I can tell that they all cared about their parts. I didn't like the girl, the Black Widow girl. I didn't.
One thing, maybe though, for me, that's casting, because I think she's just so small.
Yeah,
I didn't mind her.
There was also a lot of like controversy around her.
Yeah, related to the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Yeah, and they've apparently changed her character quite a bit from the comics. I didn't look too far into it, but apparently it's quite a bit different.
I think she's like an Israeli trained soldier or something.
Yeah, I think what I heard was that her character was involved in a lot of the reshoots. So I think they like changed her stuff because of the climate. But then why leave her in there? I don't know. I didn't like her. I didn't believe that she was this Black Widow replacement.
I mean, she's no ScarJo.
Yeah, she's like 4 feet tall, beating up 10 of grown men at once. Like, and she's not superpowered. Like, come on. I'm already stretching here to think that Sam Wilson can beat the Red Hulk when he struggled so hard in the very beginning with that brute character.
That's way more unbelievable, honestly. That Sam Wilson would take on the Red Hulk than her take on 10 guys. I put my money on her first.
But anyways, yeah, I raised it that 0.5 because I thought, why am I blanking on his name? Oh my God.
Who? Sam Wilson?
No, the president.
Oh, Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford.
That is Ross.
That is embarrassing.
What roles?
I think he did a fantastic job. You know, every time he was on screen, he was holding the audience's attention.
Harrison Ford,
like he demanded the room. Yeah, when he was on screen, I thought everything he did was phenomenal.
I thought there was one scene where they're in like his bunker. And Sam and the other girl, played by Zoshi, are standing, and he's sitting in the chair. And I was like, man, Harrison Ford's got so much aura. Like, he's just sitting down, and my eyes are still on him.
I do wish in that scene that when he was like, there's this one part where he says, I forget what he said exactly, but it was something of like him having power or something, or he's the president or something. I think he should have stand up and like got in Sam's face there. It would have been so much cooler and really shown like the power dynamic between the two of them. But instead, he stayed sitting the whole time.
To do like a side profile where they're like almost nose to nose, the conflict shot.
Right. Like, I thought that would have been really cool. Even like just kind of a wide shot of him getting up out of the chair, over the shoulder of him standing up into frame, and then cutting to that side close up shot of them.
I really don't think
in each other's face.
The two of them did not butt heads enough. He was like, what if we have an issue where we don't agree? And then he said, well, we'll figure it out together. Immediately flips on him. As soon as they have an issue where they don't agree, he's like, my way or the highway. I'm Harrison Ford. Yeah. And then later in the movie, Captain America just comes to the president and says, hey, let's be friends again. Let's figure this out together. And then they fight when he transforms. There's no good tension between them where they have each have a good argument against each other. You know, it's not like a Cecil and Mark.
And again, we know. We hear you yelling at the screen right now. That has to do with writing. You know, that's the story. The actors, you know, aren't in charge of what they're saying.
You also have to display the conflict, though, visually.
Yeah.
I mean, like we talked about, they could have shown it more with the blocking, with the shots. They could have had a lot more tension built between them.
Which is cinematography.
Yeah.
So this all blurs together, you know. But for what they had, I think the characters did good. Besides when that girl was on screen, I did not like her.
I wish they had done the leader a little bit better. They kind of tried to go really intimidating, but I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, the stakes weren't there, I don't think, you know, with him.
They needed to show him putting them in situations where they were stuck. Because he had figured out the mathematics of the probabilities of things where they had no good option. Like the Joker puts people in situations where they have no good option. And he guesses what they'll do consistently, using his intelligence as a weapon.
Right. Let's go on to cinematography. This is my favorite category that we talk about. This is like the production side of filmmaking, where we have like the camera movement to take in consideration, the lighting, the blocking, like you were saying, so like composition of the shot, what editing we put into this as well. So there's a lot of different things that go into cinematography. What did you put this? This was out of 10.
I don't think you're gonna like my score, because I think I'm more aggressive on this review in general. I think you're being a little nicer to the movie, but I gave it a 5. And it's specifically because I cannot forgive the horrible, shitty green screen scenes.
At the end?
Yeah. Mostly at the end, but I also was not big on the visuals of the dogfight scene, which I know you liked.
I did like that. I thought they looked pretty good. I thought all the flying scenes, I think that scene in particular was good.
To me, I think it was just kind of visually boring. A lot of empty water, a lot of just shots of clouds in the sky. I didn't like the setup and the look of those scenes.
Yeah, no,
it felt very empty to me.
I disagree. I thought it looked good. I liked how the ships looked. I liked how the jets looked. I thought the jets were cool. Were they on the same level as Top Gun Maverick? No, but that's okay. You know, I enjoyed seeing Captain America fly around like that. It did kind of feel like, it's not really Captain America.
Feels like a Falcon movie.
Yeah, which is fine. You know, like I kind of expected that. I didn't really like this. Again, this is kind of a little more into story of like how that scene kind of came to a close with the new Falcon, like making his mistake, you know, and then kind of getting blown up. He didn't really like do anything that wrong, you know, like I feel like the impact of his mistake, like I don't know, it didn't land for me. Yeah, like it was just like I don't know, like he didn't really make that big of a mistake.
Damn it, Aaron, that's story.
You know, like I know, like I don't know, it just didn't feel like a good ending.
I can pinpoint my complaint about the cinematography. It's also has to do with production.
Well, let me say my score: 7.5. That's what I gave it.
Yeah, it's quite a bit higher. I feel like these worlds do not feel real visually in modern Marvel movies because I personally feel as though I can see where the scene ends. It doesn't feel like a real world scene where after you go past the edge of the camera, the world continues. For example, the scene on the White House lawn has like 20 chairs and like 15 reporters and then a bunch of blue screen background. And it feels like I can see that the world is just, in real life, there's just the setup of these chairs and everything else feels like it was added in post. It doesn't feel like there's this real world because they're not shooting in the real world. And I feel like visually, when I can see that throughout a lot of the movie feels fake, and I think I'm watching a movie and I'm not invested. Overall, like there is creative cool lighting elements. Like the scenes in the White House, I think, are probably my favorite in the opening. But then a lot of the interiors just feel overly clean, overly well lit. Like the gym, when they go to Isaiah Bradley's gym, just feels spick and span. It looks like no one's ever touched that room before, and so it makes it feel fake to me.
Yeah, I hear all of your complaints. You know, I love this aspect of filmmaking so much that it's hard for me to put it that low. You know, because I don't think it was awful. Like I've seen other movies that I think were way worse than this. You know, like even from like a technical standpoint, I think from what they had, you know, they did a good job.
I feel like I see a lot of lower budget movies that don't have that level of poor green screen in them.
Yeah,
which is bad.
Yeah, are you like lower budget movies that are like kind of like this sci-fi fantastical kind of world?
Yeah,
yeah. I don't disagree.
Like, I mean, Ex Machina is a lot lower budget than this movie. It doesn't have anything that looks like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I would rate those higher. You know, like one that comes to mind is Alien Romulus.
Yeah,
it's 10 out of 10 cinematography in my book. And then
what was the one with John David Washington that we saw?
The Creator.
Yeah,
that one. That was an $80 million budget, I believe. That looked fantastic. I'd also say 10 out of 10 for the cinematography there. So yeah, maybe 7.5 is a little high. I probably wouldn't go any lower than 7.
Yeah, I think I could go potentially up to a 6. I'm not going to change it right now. But I also think there are things that are worse, like you said, but that's for the 1 to 4.
Yeah, I think so in this category, I don't think I mentioned in the beginning, but we also count like the CGI and stuff as part of the cinematography.
Framing.
Yeah, so I think you judge CGI a lot harder than I do. You know, and I think that's why your score is reflected on the 5.
It has to do with my ability to be enveloped in the movie.
Yeah,
it's one of the easiest things to take me out of a movie.
Yeah,
because I also think you could have chose to change it, either the setup or the story elements, to not include things that you couldn't afford to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's doable.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely anything's doable for Disney.
When I write something,
billions and billions of dollars.
When I write something for one of our $0 budget productions, I don't make it a sci-fi epic where we're in a spaceship the whole time. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they have a Captain America movie, so you gotta, you know.
They didn't have to put the Red Hulk in it.
Okay, well, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like, they got to tell the story.
I've seen someone say it's like a Red Hulk movie that just has Captain America shoehorned into it instead of the Hulk, because they don't have movie rights. And I think that was really fair, because Red Hulk and the Leader are both traditionally Hulk villains that get their powers from gamma radiation.
I don't think that's necessarily like a bad thing, though. But
feels off.
Yeah,
tonally.
Feels off tonally.
Yeah, it feels like it should be a different character's movie. To me. I think that really hit the nail.
Should Civil War not have been called like a Captain America movie?
I think Civil War still focused on Cap and Bucky's conflict, but it's more of an Avengers movie. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But that's an upgrade.
Yeah. I hear you. Let's go on to sound design. This is takes into account the soundtrack, the movie score, the Foley work, which is all the sound effects that you hear. Typically when a movie is shot, they're not recording or using the audio of any of the effects that are captured in the same take as the dialogue. So they're going back and, you know, they're filming the phone being placed back down on the table. They're filming the footsteps.
The flash for the selfie.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going back, putting in all those different sound effects, and then you got your whooshes and your explosions and all of that too. So a lot of work goes into sound design, and I think it goes unnoticed, you know, for the most part. And we like to draw attention to it because if you have bad sound design and bad music and stuff, or that's not on the same level as the rest of the film, it really does take away from the film. A lot of times in this industry, sound design is referred to as half of the viewing experience, which is funny because you're not hearing, you're not looking at the sounds, you know.
Experience.
But with good sound design, the movie is elevated. So what did you give this category out of 10 points, Andrew?
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave it a 7.5. So
been ahead of me the whole
around the same same build there.
I thought the soundtrack to the movie was decent.
Yeah.
I liked the songs they played, and then the score was fine. It didn't disrupt the movie for me in any way.
Yeah, same. I like the sound effects of the flying and the punches and whatever.
The Hulk's hand,
the jets,
down,
the Hulk, was cool. So, yeah, I don't have too much more to say about it. This is not my necessarily like area of expertise. But
in a movie like this,
like you said, it didn't take away from the movie, but it also didn't like stick out too hard for me.
Yeah, in a movie like this, like it's not like Guardians or Into the Spider-Verse where I think the sound was a big part of the story, or like Interstellar where the score, or How to Train Your Dragon where the score has elicited so much emotion that you can hear it playing in your head. But I think so they just did their job of doing enough work to where it wasn't distracting from the movie, and everything fits as you're watching it very well.
Second character design. This is kind of why things look the way they look, why they chose to be in these locations, why the locations look this way. And I think I'm actually going to lower my score right now from what I had it at.
Let's hear what you have and what you had it at.
I had it at a 3 out of 5, and I'm going to bring it down to a 2 out of 5.
I have it at a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
So I won't begrudge you at all that change.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring it down. I think you're right. Like the sets
feel
just
like sets.
Yeah, they're just. It doesn't feel like they're in these locations, and maybe that's why I didn't take it too far away from cinematography, and I kind of taken it more from this category instead, because they just need to go on location more. Like in Civil War, it feels like they're on that intersection, on that interstate way.
They literally are on a street.
Yeah, like it feels like they're in these different locations, and now
Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
but it doesn't feel that way in newer MCU kind of movies.
No, like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was a rough one. I mean, basically most of them. Thor, Love and Thunder. They all feel very CGI heavy, very blue screen heavy, which is a very common complaint. We're not saying anything revolutionary or new to your guys' ears, but it just gets tough to watch each time, even when you go and expecting it. I feel like even when they're not using blue screen, like the scene in the gym where there's this light coming through the back end of the scene that's like super bright light that's hiding elements of the end of that room, the room feels so pristine, and so it makes it feel fake. Feels like that room was put together, those walls were put together to be shot in a movie, and I really hate that. It takes me out of the movie. The White House lawn scene doesn't look great. There are locations that look good. A lot of the inside of the White House, I think, looks good. They had a lot of extras, which I appreciate. But then, again, you go back to the scene with all the cherry blossom trees, and it just doesn't look good. It looks fake. It looks like it was shot on a lot, and there's no extras, no background characters. Other than
It looks like the background's like kind of glowing a little bit. Like it's.
I think that's that Rings of Power look.
Yeah, everything is too evenly lit.
It's really overexposed.
Yeah, and like
there's no dark side to anything.
Also, like the pink trees just feel off. Like, are there pink trees like that?
Yeah, I guess cherry blossoms, but
Washington,
I don't know.
DC like that.
That's what Sierra,
White House.
That's what Sierra was asking, because we were there. Like we were at Monuments Row, and
they just seemed like too pink, right?
Maybe it's a little further away because of how far their battle took them, but I feel like it has to be, because why would you put that in if it's just a made up thing? But it seems weird.
There's something cool about the cinematography, and I guess like this kind of goes into set and character design too, that I heard the director talking about, is that they wanted the movie to be like anti-red. So in the beginning of the film, there's like no red anything other than the little pieces on like Sam Wilson's suit
or Red Hulk.
Yeah, exactly. Or like if you see like a red light or something that's already red, like. But other than that, they took out all the red, no red lighting, and all this stuff. And then like as the movie goes on, they're slowly introducing more and more red, kind of as if the film is heating up.
It's building to the reveal of the Red Hulk. That's really cool. That's an extra thought detail that they didn't have to put into it that they did. It shows love and creativity.
Right.
I think that which we should talk about the suit. It's a Captain America movie. I liked the change in the suit. I know in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier he had the white framing of his face. You can see it here in the pop on the desk with Arron. Yeah. And I heard Anthony Mackie say,
I'm never wearing that.
Yeah. They said, why'd they remove it? He said, because I made them.
Yeah.
Because it was super sweaty and uncomfortable under there, foggy under the goggles. So he wanted that off. And I can appreciate that. I think he looks just as cool without that.
Yeah.
They started off in one suit, and he quickly put on a new suit with less white, looking more like the Falcon, or looking more like the Winter Soldier suit. You know, heavy. Actually, it kind of looked like the Age of Ultron suit because it had the white and the red and white stripes on the stomach. So I thought the suit looked really good. I thought it fit him really well. He looked bulky, like Captain America should. So all those visual elements I thought were really strong for Captain America. I just thought Red Hulk looked a little bit off.
Yeah. What did you think of...
Oh, and the leader. Did you think his head looked weird? They hit him in shadows so much to like hide, to reveal him. And
I don't know if it looked weird. I just feel like his character in general just felt out of place. You know, like, I think the makeup work and stuff that they did on him, like, technically looks good. You know? But I think it's jarring in a way because the character itself is jarring. You know, like, it doesn't seem like it fits. Like, why is he here? You know, like, it just doesn't feel like it's in the right place.
I do feel like the Mr. Blue Sky song is a cool reference because in The Incredible Hulk, when he's talking back and forth with Bruce Banner, their screen names are Mr. Blue and Mr. Green. So that song he plays is "Hey, Mr. Blue" or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the nanotech?
The
nanotech
helmet,
like coming on and coming.
Oh yeah, the nanotech. No, I feel like nobody likes the nanotech.
Yeah.
It's just not as cool as like some kind of mechanical like.
Yeah, or like a lot of people I've seen on like TikTok, like they want like the helmet to come off and they're holding it, and like I like that in some instances, you know, like it's cool when
it feels real.
Yeah, it's cool when Black Panther takes his helmet off, you know, and sets it in the snow to go talk to Zemo. Like that's cool, but I also understand like that's not practical, you know, because then he's got to go find his helmet every time he's got to put it on or whatever. But can we put a little more into it than it just fading away? You know, like you said, can we make it a little more transforming where it's like coming out like of its shell?
Like Iron Man 2.
Pieces are coming together and, you know, it's forming the helmet. Can we make it more like that?
It's one of the most badass moments of any superhero donning a suit in Iron Man 3 when the face mask goes like...
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it
just makes it feel tangible.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with the progression of Iron Man kind of getting the nanotech, you know, because it's cool. It fits.
When it first showed up, it was cool.
Yeah. But now that everyone has nanotech, it's like, man, like, this just feels kind of lazy, right?
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man has nanotech, Falcon Winter Soldier has nanotech, I'm sure Ant-Man has nanotech. I don't remember because I don't remember his movies as much.
Just wait till Daredevil Born Again when
he gets the nanotech. Yeah, it's like let's make every character a little different, you know? Like maybe Tony still helped him with his suit or whatever, but it transforms on. Like that would be cooler, I think.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. It's a downside to the costume, but I think other than the transformation, the mask does look really cool. Yeah. When he has it on for flight, it looks really badass.
I like that.
It's intimidating, I think. It's a cool addition that Cap didn't have.
It makes sense because he's a normal human.
Yeah, and
his face would be like falling off.
His face flying like the G-force
flying as fast as he's flying.
And explosions and blasts.
Yeah, like
at him.
I've ridden on like a motorcycle or whatever, and I had a helmet on, and a bug hit my visor, and it hit so hard, and I was like, thank God I have a helmet on, and that didn't hit me in the eye or on the cheek or something. Like, that would have really hurt. Imagine him hitting something as simple as, like, a bug flying. Like, it's going to, like, leave a scratch on his face. He's going so fast, if not, like, fly through him, depending on if it's a piece of metal or something, you know? Like,
really mess him up.
So it makes sense that he has the helmet. Anyways, let's go into our last category here. This is rewatchability. This is... The way we phrase this is if you were given the option and you weren't doing anything else to watch this movie over 5 times, how many times would you actively say yes to watching this movie? What would you give it out of 5, Andrew, for rewatchability?
Give it a 2.
A 2? So you'll visit it, but you don't really
Not
want
often.
I give it a 1.
Ooh, even lower than me.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen everything I needed to from this movie. You know, like
I gave it a 0 though.
I didn't give it a 0. Like I'll put it on, or like if it's on somewhere, like all right, cool, I'll probably like watch it or whatever. But I'm probably not going to actively seek out to watch it.
Yeah.
You want to know the main reason?
Why?
I'll just watch Winter Soldier instead, or Civil War, you know, or even the first Avenger. Like,
I think the two is
they're just better movies.
The two is just like, it's an MCU movie. You can throw it on and like half pay attention and enjoy yourself somewhat. Also, when I go back, if I remember going back through the MCU, you know, I'll watch this movie again.
I'd probably skip it. So this, what we do now is we add up all these scores, and that kind of gives us our rating out of 10 points here. So what did you give this movie?
It's not
Total.
great. My total score is only a 4.8.
A 4 point. That's like really comparable to The Flash that you gave.
I think The Flash was like a 4.2 or something, though. Also,
I think I have it.
my review of The Flash has also gotten worse with time. I was being way too generous to that movie at the time. I now hold it in regard as one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I have it on here. I feel like we pull this up frequently on the show.
I have it on here too. It's a 4.8. Is it the same?
You gave it a 4.8?
Yeah, total is a 4.8.
Oh, dude. Do you think this is the same as The Flash?
I gave it The Flash a 4 for story, 5 for acting, 6 for cinematography, 7 for sound design, set and character design at 2, and a rewatchability of 0. I think the main thing for The Flash that I would change is the cinematography. I would put lower. I don't think I costed them enough for the bad CGI and visuals, because I gave this movie a 5, The Brave New World a 5, and this movie probably looks better than The Flash. There's worse moments. Like the Nick
definitely looks better.
The Nick Cage moment, the babies, those are way worse visuals than anything that's in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I think I've just gotten maybe a little bit more critical or hard.
I feel like the worst CGI in this movie is like background stuff.
Yeah.
The worst cinematography CGI in that movie is the subject matter.
The vortex thing. Yeah, honestly, that cinematography I should lower by my modern standards. It'd be down at like a 4, 3.5.
I give it either a 4 or a 2. I got 2 lists going here.
There were cool parts of.
I gave it a 4.
There were cool visual parts of The Flash too. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that shot of his foot as he's about to take off running is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, my total score came out to a 6.1, and I'm happy with that. That's in between the IMDb and the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is kind of what I was saying, that I think one's a little high and one's a little low. So I'm glad that it kind of landed right in the middle. I feel like this reflects how my gut reaction would be too.
Mine feels a little bit lower than my gut reaction to the movie.
Yeah, being a 4.8 I think is crazy.
I think I gave it like 3 stars, which would be like a 6.
Yeah, which is right where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you're a little harsh on some aspects of this. I mean, I understand why.
I think I'm harsh because when I like something a lot,
you put a lot of pressure on it.
Yeah, and then, like you said with cinematography, you like cinematography a lot, so for you it makes it harder to crap on.
And I think a lot of your complaints for cinematography, too, I took more in consideration of the set and character design, you know, which all of these categories kind of blur into each other a little bit, you know, so it's kind of up to the person doing the rating to decide where you put it.
Choosing to do blue screen is kind of a production set element, but also they use a lot of blue screen in Avatar, and the special effects make it look great.
Yeah. So I guess the way that I think of it is like, if you're the if you're the crew, right, and you're showing up to work that day, you're showing up to the sets that were picked. You know, you're not sitting there being like, hey, like, you know, let's make sure we're shooting on the volume for this scene. You know, like, yes, the cinematographer has that kind of input for things, you know, but more or less for a lot of the cinematography stuff, it's like, hey, this is what we got. Let's make it look the best we can. You know what I'm saying? Especially for like something big studio like this, I feel like it's kind of like, hey, this is what we're working with. Like, I got no other option here for you.
Getting everybody back out there.
Yeah, this is not like a giant art project like the Batman is, or like the creator is, or, you know, like to where the cinematographer is really getting in there being like, look, this is how it's going to look, you know, or the director more so is like, look, this is kind of the feel and look that we're going for. So, that's our breakdown of Captain America, Brave New World. I'm interested to see what the comments have. I've heard a lot of discourse on the internet saying that this movie is like dog shit awful. I think that's a little harsh. I think your score reflects that you agree with that.
Go check it out. Check it out and form your own opinion.
Like I said in the beginning, I think this film was all right. You know, it was entertaining. It's not great, there's some cool parts in it, but at the end of the day, I think the story falls flat and the writing isn't good. And I think you can tell that it was pieced together through multiple reshoots. And they're really struggling with making a good movie rather than just, connecting all the dots and connecting all the pieces of this huge world that is with it. I think the MCU's like lore and everything that's within that bubble is really holding them back from creating new stories.
Yes. This movie introduced us to Danny Ramirez now taking on the mantle of the Falcon. First appearance of Anthony Mackie as Captain America in a movie. It introduced us to the Leader as a villain, to Red Hulk as a villain, and to Sidewinder as a villain. It's a lot of introduction to do all at once.
Whatever that little girl's name is.
Yeah, the ex-widow, Zoshi's character, the advisor to the president. So it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. All right. Let us know what you think of this movie. What you think of our review. Like what categories do you agree or disagree with? I'd be interested to see like you guys rate these categories yourself and leave that in the comments. It'd be cool to see what kind of categories you guys value more than others. If you want to join in on the conversation a little bit more with Captain America, but then also other movies and TV shows and video games, comics, or whatever, you can talk to us and our small community that we're building and growing a little bit more in the Discord. The link is in the description below. We have, again, different movie reviews. We're doing polls in there and debates. Someone's always talking in there and communicating on something. We have a bunch of different categories in there to help kind of organize the conversations. People are sharing their own work, whether it's have to do with film or art or whatever. But it is going to cost you an arm and a leg to join. Andrew, tell them the price to get into this exclusive club.
You familiar with the economic output of Liechtenstein?
Absolutely. But is everyone else?
Well, it's less than that because it's actually free.
Yeah, totally free.
You know what that's a reference to?
No.
It's an Invincible reference. They ask him how much it costs every time he teleports, and he says economic output of Liechtenstein or something like that.
I do recognize that now that you said it. But yeah, we post new full episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you hit that subscription button, notification bell, so you don't miss a single one of our episodes. Andrew, where else are we?
We're on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X. We are all over the place. Make sure to check us out on our short form platforms. Make sure to share us with friends and family. It's the best way to help the show grow organically. And if you really, really feel nice, you can give us a rating and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
There we go.
Helps the show find new people.
Thanks so much for watching, and that's a wrap.